Welcome occultists to another video. You've read the title. Protect yourself and your identity online at all times. If you are new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe for more content. In this video there are stories which may be triggering or graphic for some due to the subject matter. With that being said, let's get this video to 7 likes and dive right in. My name is Sarah, and I never imagined my quest for excitement would lead me down a path of darkness and ruin. I was a married woman, yes, but I longed for something more, something thrilling. That's how I found myself on an online dating site, seeking an escape from the mundanity of my life. But what started as a harmless adventure spiraled into a nightmare that destroyed everything I knew. I met him on the site. He called himself Michael, and he was everything my life wasn't: mysterious, charming, and adventurous. We connected instantly, our conversation stretching into the late hours of the night. He understood me in ways my husband never did. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't help myself. We never video chatted. Michael said his camera was broken, but he sent me photos, handsome, smiling pictures that made my heart race. I should have suspected something was off, but I was too caught up in the fantasy. After a few weeks, Michael started talking about financial troubles. I wanted to help, to be there for him as he had been for me. He asked for small amounts at first, but the requests grew larger. I sent him thousands, draining my savings, blinded by what I thought was love. Then came the day he asked for my social security number, saying he wanted to make me a beneficiary of his will, a gesture of his commitment. I hesitated, but he pleaded, and I relented. That was my gravest mistake. Not long after, I started noticing strange charges on my credit cards, new accounts opened in my name, debts I didn't incur. I confronted Michael, but he vanished, his online profile deleted, his phone number disconnected. Panic set in as the truth dawned on me. I had been catfished. But the extent of the deception was more than just a broken heart. A private investigator I hired revealed the horrifying truth: Michael was a wanted fugitive, a con artist who had been preying on women like me. My world crumbled. My husband discovered the affair and the financial mess I had gotten us into. He filed for divorce, taking our children with him. I was left alone, drowning in debt, my identity stolen, my life in shambles. The police got involved, but Michael was a ghost, his true identity a puzzle. I cooperated fully, my guilt a heavy burden. The man I had known as Michael was eventually caught in another state, but the damage he had done was irreversible. I had to start over. I moved to a new city, took up a job under a different name, and tried to rebuild from the ashes of my former life. The shame and guilt followed me, a constant reminder of my naivety and betrayal. Nightmares haunted me, of Michael, of what he had done, of the trust one had so foolishly given. I became a shell of my former self, suspicious of everyone, unable to form connections. The story of my downfall made local headlines, a cautionary tale of the dangers of online relationships. I became a pariah, my scandal a source of gossip and judgment. In this new life, I am a ghost, moving through the days with a heavy heart. I've learned to guard myself, to keep my distance. The search for excitement led me to a darkness I never knew existed, a world where love is a mask for deception, and trust is a tool for betrayal. As I recount my story, I wonder what could have been if I had chosen differently, if I had seen through the lies. But the past is a deep well of regret, and I can only look forward. The horror of what happened still lingers, a dark cloud over my existence. I live in fear that my past will catch up to me, that the shadow of Michael will once again darken my doorstep. I've learned the hard way that not all strangers are who they seem, and not all adventures lead to happy endings. My story is one of loss, of love, of trust, and of the life I once knew. And as I move forward, I can't help but glance over my shoulder, wary of what lies in the shadows of the unknown. I always believed that life had something extraordinary in store for me, something beyond the mundane existence of my small town. My name is Alex, and I was just an average guy with big dreams, dreams that turned into a living nightmare. It all began when I thought I had made a connection with someone famous, someone who I believed could change my life. It started innocently enough, a follow request from a celebrity on social media. I was a huge fan, and the thought that she had noticed me sent my heart racing. The account was verified, the pictures and posts all seemed genuine. I never stopped to question its authenticity. Why would I? It was like a dream come true. We began chatting online. She said she found my profile interesting and enjoyed my thoughts on her movies. I was over the moon, telling my friends I was in contact with a real celebrity. They were skeptical, but I brushed off their doubts. This was my ticket to a bigger world, a world of fame and fortune. Our conversations grew more personal over time. She confided in me, shared secrets, and I did the same. I felt a connection, a bond. When she asked for my number, I didn't hesitate. We started texting, her messages becoming more intimate, more seductive. I was elated. A famous actress was interested in me, a nobody. It was surreal, like living in a fantasy. She talked about meeting in person, about helping me start a career in showbiz. I was completely under her spell. One evening, she asked me to send my location, saying she was in town and wanted to meet. My heart raced with excitement. I shared my location without a second thought. She asked me to meet her at a secluded spot, a place where we wouldn't be disturbed by fans. I was so blinded by the thrill that I ignored the red flags. I arrived at the meeting place, a remote area just outside town. It was dark, the only light coming from the moon. I waited, my anticipation building with each passing minute. That's when I saw a figure approaching. It wasn't her. It was a man, large and imposing, his features obscured in the darkness. Panic set in, but before I could react, he was upon me. He tried to grab me, his hands like vices. I fought back with everything I had, adrenaline and fear giving me strength. In the struggle, I managed to break free and run. I didn't stop until I reached a well-lit area with people around. I called the police, my body shaking, my mind struggling to process what had happened. The police launched an investigation. They traced the social media account, the phone number, but it all led to dead ends. It was a professional job, the work of someone who knew how to cover their tracks. Days turned into weeks, and life became a blur of paranoia and fear. I jumped at shadows, every unknown number on my phone a potential threat. The dream had turned into a nightmare, a cruel game played by a faceless predator. Then came the revelation that shattered my world. The police had made a breakthrough. The IP address used to create the fake account was traced back to someone in my own family, my Uncle Darren. Uncle Darren was always the outcast of the family, someone we rarely spoke about. He had a history of odd behavior, but no one suspected him capable of something so sinister. He had been stalking me, using his knowledge of the family to weave his web of deception. The reasons were unclear, his motives a twisted mystery. But he had been the one behind the fake account, the attempted kidnapping. Uncle Darren was arrested, but the damage was done. My trust was broken, my sense of safety shattered. The family was in shock, struggling to come to terms with the betrayal. I was left to pick up the pieces of my life, to try and move on from the horror. The allure of fame and attention had blinded me, leading me into the clutches of a madman. As I rebuild, I can't help but question every online interaction, every unknown follower on social media. The experience has left a dark stain on my life, a constant reminder of the dangers lurking behind screens. Uncle Darren's trial is still pending, the full extent of his deception yet to be uncovered. And as I await closure, I live in the shadow of what happened, a young man whose dreams turned into a chilling tale of obsession and betrayal. The world I knew has changed, colored by the darkness of that night. And as I try to find my way back to the light, I'm left wondering if I ever truly can. My name is Emma, and I was a sophomore in college when I received the message that would turn my life into a nightmare. Struggling with tuition and the rising cost of living, I was desperate for any financial relief. So, when a well-known marketing agency reached out to me on social media, offering to pay a generous amount for participating in a photo shoot, it felt like a godsend. Little did I know, it was a decision that would lead me down a path of terror and despair. The message was professional, detailed. They flattered me, saying they found my profile through the university's art program and thought I'd be perfect for their new campaign. The pay they offered was more than I could make in months. Blinded by the opportunity, I overlooked how odd it was to be approached directly like this. I eagerly agreed. Excitement bubbled inside me as I prepared for the photo shoot. They had given me an address on the outskirts of the city, in an industrial area. It seemed unusual, but I rationalized it as a creative choice for a unique backdrop. Before leaving, I shared my location with my best friend, Lily. We had a pact to do so whenever either of us went on dates or similar situations. Just in case, I texted her, adding a smiley face to lighten the ominous undertone. I arrived at the location, an old warehouse that looked deserted. My initial enthusiasm waned, giving way to a gnawing sense of unease. The place didn't look like it had seen any activity for years. Doubt crept into my mind, but the thought of the money I needed pushed me forward. The front door was slightly ajar. I stepped inside, calling out a tentative hello. My voice echoed through the vast, empty space. There was no sign of a photo shoot set up, no people, no camera equipment. Instead, there was a chilling silence that sent shivers down my spine. Then, out of the shadows, figures appeared. Not the agency representatives I expected, but men with cold, predatory eyes. My heart sank into my stomach as I realized the grave mistake I had made. "You're just in time," one of them sneered, his gaze raking over me. Panic set in. I turned to run, but another man was blocking the door, his large frame a barrier to my escape. I thought of Lily, of the location I had shared. It was my only hope. I had to stall, to buy time. "What is this? Where's the photo shoot?" I asked, trying to mask the tremor in my voice. "This is the photo shoot, sweetheart," the first man chuckled darkly. "But you're not the model, you're the product." Their intentions became horrifyingly clear. I had walked into the lair of a human trafficking ring, disguised as a marketing opportunity. Fear like I'd never known coursed through me. I thought of screaming, but the desolate surroundings of the warehouse quashed that hope. They approached me, and I backed away, my mind racing. I had to think fast. I feigned a sudden calmness. "Okay, I understand." "I'm in," I lied, hoping to catch them off guard. The men paused, exchanging glances. My heart pounded so loud I was sure they could hear it. Then, to my relief, they seemed to believe me. "Smart girl," one of them said. "But first, let's make sure you don't run." As they momentarily turned away to discuss amongst themselves, I seized my chance. I bolted towards a side door, flung it open, and ran as if the devil himself were on my heels. I could hear them shouting, their footsteps thundering behind me. I didn't look back, my entire being focused on escape. I ran through the maze of industrial complexes, my breath ragged, my mind singularly focused on survival. I found a spot to hide, crouching between dumpsters, my body trembling uncontrollably. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. The operator's voice was a lifeline as I whispered my situation and location. It felt like an eternity before I heard the sirens, saw the flashing lights. The police found me, my state of utter terror apparent. They swarmed the warehouse, but by the time they entered, the traffickers had fled, leaving behind only the hollow shell of their dark operation. The aftermath was a blur. I was questioned, a victim statement taken. The police launched a full investigation, but I was left shattered, my sense of security irrevocably violated. My identity, once so clear, was now a question mark. The trust one had in the world and the people around me was gone, replaced by a constant, gnawing paranoia. I dropped out of college, unable to face the life I once knew. I moved to a new city, changed my name, and started over. But the scars of that day lingered. Nightmares plagued me, the feeling of being watched a constant companion. I became a recluse, the outside world a terrifying place filled with unseen dangers. The agency, the warehouse, the men, they haunted my every moment. The investigation continued, but leads were scarce. The traffickers had vanished, leaving no trace behind. Now, as I try to rebuild my life, I'm haunted by the what-ifs. What if I hadn't shared my location with Lily? What if the police hadn't arrived in time? The questions torment me, a never-ending cycle of fear and despair. My story is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the dangers lurking behind seemingly harmless interactions. I'm a survivor, yes, but the cost of survival has been immense. I've lost my identity, my future, my sense of self, all to a ring of shadows that preyed on my desperation. As I live each day, I can't help but look over my shoulder, wondering if they're still out there, waiting. The fear never leaves me, it's a constant, dark presence in my life. And as I try to move forward, I'm left wondering if I'll ever truly be free from the horror that started with a simple message and ended in a fight for my life.